from Zero Hedge, who says, sorry to beat a dead horse, but can we go back to what happened here? Yeah. And we got this picture. It says U.S. presidential election popular vote, Democrat versus Republican in millions. And we can see in 2012, Democrats had just above 65 million. In 2016, they had just about 65 million. In 2020, they had 81 million. And in 2024, they have 66 million. So the question is, what is this? Where did, as of right now, let's make sure we get the popular vote numbers, because it is getting a little bit closer. Kamala Harris has 68 million. We're talking about 13 million votes. Donald Trump's got 72. So he's about 1.5, 2 million shy of where he was in 2020. And with some coming in that may be around the number. So Trump's about where he was. Where did 13 million Democrat voters go?
Do you think something weird happened?
Well, it was voter suppression. It's hard to get an ID, and they expected all of those people to. Now we just know the havoc that wreaked.
That's right, yeah. Half their voters.
But more people voted in this election than in 20. See, I'm a little worried about this chart here. More people voted in this election than in 2020. And the people who showed up were Trump people. Yeah. So she should have about what she had. I don't
think that's true. I mean, the numbers that we have from Decision Desk right now is Harris 68 million to Trump's 72 million. And Biden had...
How many were counted of all the votes?
So... Because it is true, California is not completely in yet, only 60% reporting. So we are waiting for more. Perhaps California is going to come in with an additional 3 million for Harris.
Because that's what the Decision Desk was telling us all night during the election night, that this is a much higher than 2020, yeah. And that was where the difference was.
Actually, we caught that early on. They gave Florida 100 million residents.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we're halfway through the night, and we were like, wow, Trump already has 88 million? I mean, this is massive. Yeah. And then they corrected and reduced everything back down.
Okay.
So it is possible with California. Let's hit refresh here. California's got 59% reporting. Perhaps we're going to see, if we're a little bit more than halfway there, we're looking at what may be 6 million from California that have yet to be counted.
It was
it could really be that simple that they've just not counted the votes yet.
It was my kind of guess or inclination that the reason that there was so many more votes counted in 2020 was because they were literally mailing them out to people's homes. They were filling them out, and then they were going and collecting. So
it wasn't a total mess.
Yeah. So it's like as much as there were more votes, they weren't real. They were phantom votes because they were people that would never get off the couch and go vote in the first place. And if you go out and you mail people ballots and then they fill them out and then they go ahead and you go and collect them, you're not going to get a vote from an informed populace. You're going to get a vote from people that are doing what their friend said or what their mother said or something that they didn't even fill out, because if you got 5 people living there, maybe dad just fills them out for everybody and hands them to the guy that comes to the door. So the idea that it's some kind of accurate vote to have those, I think that's absolutely ridiculous right on its face. Just because it was a novel way of carrying out an election in the first place due to the COVID lockdowns and everything.
It was insane that no other country that has a responsible democracy has this problem. No other country.
It's incredible. And we'd mentioned, all right,
responsible democracy.
Well, I'm not saying like, I know. In Russia there are votes, but who knows?
The reason I highlight that is what we're basically saying here. What you're saying here is, it is apparent to us that any country with these problems is not a responsible democracy.
It's not acting responsibly in its democracy. And it's bad just to undermine people's faith. I don't even know. Yeah. I won't even guess, because no one has ever proved what happened in 2020. But the fact that we don't know is unnerving.
Here's a quick question, though. Should we have immediately, I think we should, an audit, special counsel investigation of the 2020 election?
100%.
Absolutely.
100%. It'll be impossible because they probably got rid of all the evidence. Just watching what I saw in the Maricopa County Court,
but hey,
was a mess.
If we're going to spend $35 million investigating whether or not Trump secretly worked for the Soviet Union going back to the 80s, which is psychotic, we can at least say we will allocate similar funds to making sure our elections are safe and secure.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I do think that what should happen is there should be some kind of legislation from the federal government that says states must update their methods of doing the vote. Not that it has to be the same as everyone, but must secure their elections. After the 2000 election, Florida went and renovated their entire election system. Yeah. And I don't remember who actually said it. It might have been Ben when he was talking about it. But everyone looked at Florida and was like, what the hell are you doing? Right? Like after the whole hang and Chad thing. So Florida went and they renovated their entire election system. And yesterday they had every vote counted 2 hours and 45 minutes after the end of the closing of polls. And there is nothing that prevents any other state from doing the same thing. And I made this point yesterday. The only reason that states have not done that is a lack of will, a lack of a desire to actually make that happen. We live in a society where a guy launches a rocket into space and it comes down and he catches it with a tower and it's the size of a damn building. Don't tell me that we can't figure out, that states can't figure out how to make elections work properly when there is an existing state that has done it, and anybody that wants can say, excuse me, Governor DeSantis, what do you guys do down there? I would like my state to do that. The only thing that lacks is will.
You're a racist, then.
Yeah. Touche.
And that is the lesson Democrats learned. That you see, the Democrats did learn an important lesson. They haven't been calling us racist enough.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it.
100 times per hour.
CNN's working on it.
Too shy.
Well, in 2016, if you notice this, they kept calling everyone racist leading up to the election, and then Trump won anyway, so they started saying white supremacist instead. Then everyone was a white supremacist, and now they're going to have to move on to something else.
Turbo Hitler. But it sounds like a video game, though.
Turbo Hitler.
This is kind of the other thing about this election, though, is that Trump won demographics that no Republican has ever won, which to me marks the end of this phase of the leftist strategy. This identity politics, as they politely call it, because it's really just racism.
You think they can give it up?
I don't know how they give it up, because what else have they got?
That's all.
What else have they got? The one thing that saves us is our policies actually work. Right. They make life better, and their policies immiserate everybody. Right. I mean, life is just more miserable now than it was 4 years ago.
I think it's just Democrats want short-term gratification, instant gratification, and so they're sitting there thinking like, why can't I do drugs? I'm going to vote for drugs. And then the right is saying, hey, over a long period of time, that's going to break down and destroy what makes this country function. Yep. So we're at a point in human civilization where we do, let's just go back 200 years. Wake up, son. It's the crack of dawn. If we don't farm, we will die by winter. And that's life. And now it's, are you waking up, son? No, I'm sleeping in. Okay. There's cold pizza on the stove. Yeah. You want for nothing.
Yep. iPad's charging. And so now, because people have separated themselves from the realities of nature, and we have become so luxurious, they're sitting around being like, why do I have to work? The government should pay me for no reason, and then I can buy McDonald's whenever I want, and my rent is paid. Not realizing that labor has to come from somewhere. So this is what the Democrats' policies are now built around, a disconnect between the reality of survival, the work requiring it. So when they're voting for things, they're so far detached from what we need to do to survive. And it has changed over 200 years. It's no longer go farm because winter's coming. But it is similar to, hey, there has to be some degree of labor you do. They're saying, nah, vote so that we do literally whatever we want, get abortions whenever we want, do drugs whenever we want. And Republicans are just saying, yeah, in 5 years, society collapses if you do that, as evidenced by the border policy. Let them all come in. They're poor refugees. Now women are being raped and murdered. You've got Tren de Aragua taking over buildings. And Democrats can't seem to understand that they're insane. Because they support policies that promote nihilism.
But hold on.
These people have no meaning.
How does any of this affect you personally? Why are you so obsessed with other
people?
Why
do you care so much?
Why do you care?
No, I mean, everything that Kamala was campaigning on boiled down to abortion and stocking stuffers.
This is the party that rolled out a human sacrifice truck at the DNC.
We're just going to give you everything you want. The business loan for Black Americans, that was insane.
Black men's crypto.
That's
need to be protected.
They're going to just give you money to buy a house because that's how that works.
That's a great point. And I think that part of the problem is if you look back 20 or 30 years, all of the real things that the Democrats would have run on back then, they've got them all. Essentially all of the reasonable policies that the Democrats have wanted have been installed and at least attempted. All of the social programs, everything, even including some form of safety net for healthcare, right? So in the U.S., because of the ACA, it's not the single payer that they want, but it is some kind of safety net for healthcare. And so they've literally run out of things that are reasonable to be able to achieve.
They're charged up on Roe getting kicked back to the states.
Yeah.
So they got that.
And then they're
and that's
but
true,
but 20 years ago they had that. So sorry to cut you off, but the point is there was a time where there was a golden period for about 5 to 10 years where the Democrats didn't have anything to complain about. The left had nothing to complain about, and so the far left moved in and said, "Let's remake society so that way we can
Did they
perfect
just
man."
become woke because they were bored? Like, is that what
No,
happened?
because the left, the
Here's what
revolution
I'm
never
saying.
stopped.
I'm
start to
worried
focus
about-
on gender a lot.
I'm worried about Trump's victory because they're going to realize that they can't be woke anymore. So they're going to like whip themselves into shape and recalibrate, as we were talking about last night. And I don't know what the right can do to compete with the left if they decide to be cool again.
I'm usually not very optimistic about the way the left is going to act, but I'm very optimistic about them never abandoning the woke coalition. I do not think it's going to happen. They have, in the past, shifted a little bit to the right on certain issues after they've gotten totally destroyed. But you look at the absolute landslide victories of Nixon and Reagan, and the fact that the left only moved further and further to the left over the ensuing decades, and they always inevitably overplay their hand.
I think it might recede for a bit, and then it will come back bad.
It's possible.
I mean, it obviously
that
recedes
coalition
right
will get
before the
pushed out.
election.
It's like possible that coalition will start to get pushed out in a publicly facing way, but ultimately they're still going to hold on to them.
But Kamala, obviously, she had to like come closer to the center for the election, for the purposes of the election, and maybe was planning to go back to her rhetoric from before afterwards. But if she won, but she didn't win, I'm thinking that they've been distancing themselves from wokeness for a while now, and they resent the people in their party who made that the norm.
They definitely have. You're right about this. But no fight ever ends. That's the whole
Yeah.
point about politics. There's no ultimate victory. And I do think there's a religious aspect to this because everything they say makes perfect sense if there's no God. I mean, everything that they talk about, that we have no identity, why would you want to have babies? What on earth are you doing having babies when you could be having random sex and just working, making a lot of money? And all those people who put out those videos, I'm so happy that I have no children. And you go like, like I'm happy I have no life. That's great.
Well, that
Yeah,
idea
yeah.
of like
mean?
hedonism and
Where
licentiousness, dare I say, predated wokeness.
What did?
That sentiment that you're talking about, like just licentiousness, hedonism.
Well, it's
just
woven.
secularism.
It's woven into the idea. First of all, the death of the family is woven into the leftist idea because the family is a self-governing unit on which all free societies are based. You cannot have a free society without families, and that they know it. They said it. It's not that the Marxists didn't say this at the very beginning that we have to get women into the workplace because if they're in the home, they're upholding a different set of values than the values of the workplace, and they don't want that to happen. But still, at some point, you have to stop and think: is this the life that we really live? I mean, do people not want children? Do they not get meaning out of love and out of raising a family? Most of us are not going to leave anything behind but children. I mean, It gives you a life that goes beyond your own life.
I think what women are really struggling with right now is that they don't need men anymore, but they're wondering why they still want a man.
Why they want the man.
It's very confusing for them.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.